There you go. Oh, I've got two options: continue or leave meeting. Continue. Okay, so I'm Richard Harding. I'm the school principal at WSET School London. I'm joined today by Russell Dent, who is the Level 4 Diploma Manager, Programme Manager, and we've also, the other voice you can hear is Julia Lambeth, who works on our events team. So we will be taking you through this evening. Russell and Julia are both educators as well at Diploma, so if you do come and study at the school, you'll be seeing lots of them over the time. Before we start, if we can just do a bit of housekeeping as always with these things. So if you could keep yourself on mute, because this number of people would create quite a background noise. And this is also the webinar package. So you'll see there's a Q&A section. So if you have any questions, if you put it in the Q&A, then that's a lot easier for us to be able to keep track on. So please feel free to ask questions throughout. We will probably pick them up at the end rather than keep stopping, but we'll have a bit of time at the end to come back and look at what you've asked. If you'd like, Russell, if you'd like to move on. Yeah, so as I said, thank you very much for joining this evening. Our aim of this evening is to sort of give you as much information about the diploma as possible. We recognise the big commitment, the amount of hours study and the financial commitment as well. So what we really want to do is be able to take you through all aspects of the diploma. So you've got a more informed choice when you're wondering whether the time is now to start studying. So over the course of the session, we will look at why to enrol on the WSET Level 4 Diploma in Wines. Russell will take us through the structure of the qualification, so the different modules and what each of those mean. We will look at how the school supports you with your studies. And then we will break down the variety of delivery methods that we offer. So that's sort of evening, daytime, online. Russell will go through all of those so you can understand what matches your needs best. We will touch on COVID again, sorry, just to sort of give you a bit of a update on how we operate in COVID and how we might operate going forward. And then look at the payment options available if you are interested in signing up. And then the final thing we'll just look at is once you've passed the diploma, you join a select group of people who hold the qualification, so you can join the alumni body, the WSET alumni body. So yes, that should hopefully answer most of your questions, but as I said, please do ask any more, and I will hand over to Russell.
Excellent. Well, good evening. So perhaps just another introduction to myself. So my name is Russell Dent. I'm the Diploma Programme Manager at the WSET school. So it's my job to look after our students. We have approximately anywhere between 350 and 450 diploma students annually. And I look after the programs, the delivery, the materials, the wines, everything diploma related. So essentially, when it comes to diploma, the buck stops with me. I've been in the industry now for, let's see, my goodness, 16 years. I started with Majestic Wine. I've been working for the trust now for about 11 years in one capacity or another, and probably about 8 years, I think, as the Diploma Programme Manager. So to start with then, we're going to think about, well, why enroll on the Level 4 programme? Probably the most important question. Okay, right, so it's a product knowledge focused course. So that means that it's not really going to teach you how to be a winemaker or a grape grower. It's going to teach you about the product of wine. But it does give you really specialist understanding, specialist skills in terms of wine production, how it's made. And so it gives you an understanding of why wines taste like they do. But in addition to that, it gives you a lot more insight into business factors. One of the units that we'll come on to in a moment focuses on wine business, which is relatively new to the WSET suite of qualifications. As I mentioned, it's primarily a product knowledge course, and there is a focus on light wines, but also elements that will cover sparkling wines, fortified wines. And in addition to learning about those wines, things like grape varieties, it also helps you develop analytical skills in terms of understanding a particular region, the structure, the infrastructure within a particular region. And so it gives you some insight into real life situations. As compared to the previous WSET qualifications, there's a real focus on tasting. So over the course of the qualification, you'll have to analyse, let's see, 18 samples as part of the assessment structure. So it really gives you some top quality, some really useful evaluative wine tasting skills. And it's probably one of the most recognised global wine qualifications there is. So it gives you some real kudos using the DipWSET post-nominal. Right, so just to give you an idea in terms of where the level 4 qualification fits in with the other WSET qualifications. So you may have done level 1, level 2, level 3. Just to give you perhaps a little bit of background, level 1 is all about factual recall. So it tests knowledge, it tests students' understanding their ability to recall facts, associating a certain word or phrase with a certain grape variety or style of wine. And that's how the examination is assessed, just being able to recognize a certain word with a certain phrase. At level 2, the concept is pretty much the same. So it's still testing students' ability to recall facts and their product knowledge, their knowledge skills. The difference at level 2 is that the breadth of information that students need to know about is much broader, but the premise is still the same, identifying a certain phrase or a certain word and associating that with a certain grape variety or style of wine. At level 3, it changes somewhat. So for level 3, it's not just a case of recalling the facts. You also need to demonstrate to the examiners that you understand those facts and that you can apply typically product knowledge elements of the specification to certain styles of wine, certain grape varieties and certain regions. So you have to be able to demonstrate your understanding. And as many of you will know, you're also required to demonstrate your tasting skills as well. And that's why the level 3 qualification, the level 3 award in wines, or you may have done the level 3 award in wines and spirits, is the prerequisite qualification in order to start studying the level 4 program. And that's because we've instilled the basics of the systematic approach to tasting. You've got a good understanding of the growing environment, grape growing, winemaking, and you can then apply that knowledge, apply that understanding to the level 4 specification. So the question then is, well, how does level 4 differ to level 3? You still need to know the facts. So you need to know an awful lot about lots of different grape varieties, regions, styles of wine. You need to be able to apply your knowledge of wine production, wine business to all of those different regions of production and styles of wine. You need to be able to demonstrate your understanding as to why wine tastes like it does. But at level 4, we also test what we refer to as higher level skills as well. So your ability to evaluate, your ability to identify advantages and disadvantages, strengths, weaknesses, a student's ability to compare different wine regions and the styles of wine that they're able to produce. But we're also assessing what we refer to as creative skills as well. So That particularly applies to the D6 research assignment, which we'll come on to in a moment, and problem-solving skills, intuitive skills, and innovative skills. So it's not just a case of learning the facts, it's being able to demonstrate your understanding of those facts as well, and assessing those high-level skills. Okay, right, so this I think quite nicely leads on to the structure of the qualification. And I think a really good way of thinking about the diploma is as perhaps 6 mini qualifications rather than one big one. I think if you look at the diploma holistically as one big qualification, it can seem quite daunting and a very big hurdle to cover. If you break it down as to 6 kind of mini qualifications, 6 units, I think it's much more digestible. But as a whole, the recommended study time for the Level 4 programme is 500 hours. That's the total study time. Just to put that into perspective, the recommended study time for the Level 3 qualification, the Level 3 award in wines, is 84 hours. And that 84 hours includes the taught aspect of the qualification, the examination, and also about 50 hours of personal study time. So 500 hours, if we think of it as perhaps 6 Level 3s, that's a good way of thinking about the diploma qualification. It's certainly not something that you can cram for, that you can, I don't know, block out the week before the exam and just cram, develop a good understanding and expect to do well. So I always think of it, and I always say this to students, think of it more as kind of a marathon rather than a sprint. So it's the slow development of your skills and understanding, the improvement and development of your tasting skills, your evaluative skills, to best succeed in each of the different assessments. So that 500 hours, how does it break down? Depending on the formats, it's pretty much approximately 116 hours of classroom delivery time. It's a little bit more with the school. It's probably about 120 hours. There's 12 hours of examinations, just examinations, which means that you need to find time outside of the classroom, outside of what we provide for you, for about 370 hours of study. So I think one of the questions that you need to ask yourself is actually, do I have enough time to dedicate to the programme? Depending on the format that you might be interested in, and to give you an idea, that probably equates to anywhere between 3 and 4 hours per week. If you feel that you're particularly strong in some areas, you might spend a little bit less. Not so strong in other areas, you might dedicate a little bit more time to that particular unit. In terms of completion time, it varies with format and the intensity of the format that you choose. So, for instance, the combined intensive block course that we offer is anywhere between 14 and 18 months from start through to final examination. And the evening format that we offer, which is incredibly popular, takes much longer because students only get the opportunity to attend one 2-hour session per week. So that can be up to, say, 3 years to complete. So these are the units. So right at the top there, we've got D1 wine production and D2 wine business. And these are what we refer to as the foundation units. And they're the units that students study first. So regardless of the format, the first thing you will study will be wine production. Then you'll be assessed on wine production. You'll do the assessment associated with that unit. And then you'll study D2 wine business and then be assessed on that unit. And the reason that these 2 units, D1 and D2, are so important is that you will be essentially reassessed on your understanding of wine production and wine business as part of the remaining units. D3 wines of the world, D4 sparkling wines, D5 fortified wines, and the D6 research assignment will all include elements of wine production and wine business. That's why they're studied first, so that we can ensure that students have a good understanding of those topics and then can apply that understanding to the remaining units. Okay, right, so to give you a little bit of background in terms of what each of the units entails, you can find a lot of this information in the specification, but just to give you kind of a general introduction to each of the units. So D1 wine production. So this looks at vine anatomy, the requirements of the vine, the growing environment. It looks at grape growing, winemaking. It has 20% weighting. In terms of additional information that I can give you some pass rates. So for each of the assessments, students must score a minimum of 55%. So the way that I think about that is you need to demonstrate to the examiner that you need to know a little bit more than you don't. And it's similar to the previous WSET qualifications in that there's a merit bracket and then a distinction bracket. So the better you perform, the more likely you are to secure a merit or a distinction. Okay, so pass rates for the school are typically between 10 and 15% higher than the global average. So we tend to outperform the other program providers, which is really good news for us. You may be aware that the diploma program has gone through some quite significant revisions over the past couple of years. And I'm very pleased to say that that trend is still the case. So we're generally about 10% higher than our other program providers. And last year, our pass rate for D1 wine production was 80%. So 80% of students that attempted first time, passed first time. Okay, right, so D2 wine business. So this looks at things like the types of business, getting the wine to point of sale, factors that contribute to the price of wine, marketing. It's worth 10% of the qualification. And I think what we need to say about D2 wine business is that for most people that have just studied the WSET qualifications, this is relatively new. At no points in level 1, level 2, level 3 will you have talked about kind of marketing or points of sale or types of business. So for most students who have just done the WSET qualifications, this is a new subject. Pass rates remain high though. So last year, the school, 91% of students attempted and passed first time. So again, a really good pass rate. I think as a new topic, on the whole, students tend to find it quite interesting. I won't go as far as saying that they enjoy it, but they find it interesting nonetheless. Okay, right, D3 wines of the world. So this is what students often refer to as the biggie. This is 50% of the qualification. Essentially, it's everything that's not sparkling wine or fortified wine. And if you think of all of the new world, the old world, all the different grape varieties, styles, regions that might fall into this category, this is an enormous chunk of the qualification. So much so that it's split into two separate assessments, looking at grape growing, winemaking, maturation, wine law, wine business, and how they differ, how they influence styles of wine from around the world as part of the theory assessment. And then there's a separate 12 wine blind tasting as part of the tasting assessment. This is typically one of the units that students will attempt towards the end of the qualification. So we tend to focus on D1 and D2 first, followed by sparkling and fortified wines, And then when students are more comfortable with the format of the exams, have some tasting and assessment experience, we then progress into D3 Wines of the World. Again, to give you an idea of pass rates, the D3 theory exam is by far and away the hardest assessment as part of the qualification. And typically the pass rates are kind of high 60s, so kind of 60 to 65% of students pass first time. Last year, 72% of our students attempted and passed first time. So again, a fantastic result for the school. In terms of tasting, I'm conscious that most students are perhaps more concerned about tasting rather than theory, and they're probably a little bit more doubting of their tasting skills rather than their theoretical knowledge. The pass rate for the school for tasting last year was 91%, so 91% of students attempted and passed first time. And I often say this, don't worry about getting together for tasting practice, which is always nice, sharing a bottle of wine. You need to get together and answer some theory questions, not perhaps quite as attractive, but that's where the focus needs to be. Okay, then we've got D4, sparkling wines. So same principles, grape growing, winemaking, maturation, wine law, wine business, but as they apply to sparkling wines. This is a much smaller unit. This only represents 5% of the qualification. And it's assessed via a combined tasting and theory examination. So an hour and a half, 3 wines, a selection of theory questions. Students tend to do quite well in their sparkling wines exam. This tends to be the first, what we would refer to as the wet exam, so the first exam that students attempt where samples are presented as part of the assessment. And last year, 79% of school students attempted and passed D4 sparkling wines for the first time. Okay, right, on to fortified wines. The format is exactly the same as for sparkling wines. The weighting is exactly the same as for sparkling wines. But this time we're applying our knowledge to that particular style of wine. Pass rates, let's see, pass rates last year, 78% of students attempted and passed first time. So again, a really good pass rate that we're very proud of. So the final unit that comprises the diploma is the D6 research assignment. And this tends to be the unit that we encourage our students to attempt last. So this is the only unit that will encourage you to look at materials beyond the digital materials that are provided for you as a diploma student. So you need to look at other resource materials to put your research assignment together. It's on a given topic, so we'll give you a title, and then you need to produce a document of between approximately 3,000 words based on that particular topic, but covering all the elements given in the brief. And this is the only unit that really assesses those creative skills, those problem-solving skills that test students' ability to demonstrate their kind of research and analytical skills. And that's because it's an open book assessment rather than a closed book assessments. Pass rates are generally very high, anywhere between 90 and 95% of students attempt and pass first time. Okay, so I mean, they're your kind of 6 mini qualifications that comprise the diploma, and I'll talk a little bit more later about how we structure our courses at the WSET school. Right, so we've gone through what you need to do. So perhaps it makes sense at this point to talk about how we're going to support you through that process, because there's a lot of work that you need to do. So what are we going to do as an APP to help you succeed? Okay, right, so dedicated contact. So the WSET school offers all the WSET qualifications, but we have a dedicated team. We use the word team relatively loosely. We're a team of 2, soon to be 3 people. But nevertheless, we have a team of a team dedicated purely to delivering the diploma. So that's myself and 2 others that support me in delivering the diploma qualification. So you've always got someone you can contact with any questions relating to your programme of study and the qualification generally. World-class educators, and I think perhaps the important point here is educators. So for those of you that may have studied the Level 3 programme or the Level 2 programme elsewhere outside of the WSET school, you may have seen the same educator every week for every single session. And that is possible for levels 1, 2, and 3. That's not really possible at level 4. So at the school, we're reliant on kind of a pool of about 16 educators. And importantly, each of those educators has a subject specialty or specialties. So you won't see the same person for the entirety of the course. You'll see lots of different people depending on the subject that you're studying. So you'll see perhaps myself for tasting technique and D1 wine production. You might see Michelle, one of our MWs, for D2 wine business. You'll see perhaps Lauren for D4. So lots of different people throughout the qualification, and that way we can ensure that we will put someone in front of you that's got the best skills to deliver that particular session. And it's also good that each of those educators has got different backgrounds. So they've got different backgrounds in terms of their education, in terms of what they do day to day, whether they're just in education or whether they're a marketing professional or whether they're in the buying profession. We're reliant on lots of different people. About half of our educators, perhaps a little bit more, are MWs as well, which I think adds some additional reassurance to those of you in terms of the quality of the teaching at the WSET school. Okay, right, we've also got a brand new Diploma Suite, so brand new that I've not been in it yet, but I think Richard will be talking about that in a moment. An exceptional range of wines. So I think as part of the course, I think it's well over 300 wines that you'll be tasting as part of the course. Selecting the wines is really important because, okay, we could just say, okay, this is this great variety, this is this region. So when we're choosing the wines, we're trying to choose wines that show lots of different features, that show perhaps different production methods or different producer types, as well as different grape varieties, different regions and different styles. And the focus of the classroom sessions is on the wines and the tasting elements. So we can use those wines to teach through the samples and teach lots of different theoretical elements as well as tasting elements with each of the samples. One thing that does differentiate us from other APPs is our online resources. So we use an online platform called the Online Classroom, and that contains lots of additional activities to help you with your studies. So they include virtual tastings, quizzes, discussions, assignments, practice examinations that you can take part on. The majority of those activities are self-marking, so you get to see immediate feedback in terms of how you've done with a particular activity. But we also include some additional examination preparation activities as well, where your work can be submitted, graded by an actual person, and you get some feedback in terms of what you've done well and what you've done not so well. Leading on from that, examination preparation sessions, so they are included as part of the course. So we have, across the course, we probably have, let's see, seven different workshops throughout the course, looking at different elements, different units, and different parts of those units. We will also offer tasting preparation sessions in the run-up to tasting exams, and they are both online, classroom-based, and we're currently developing the ability to send samples out to students as well to help them prepare for the tasting assessments. As well as lots of mock examinations for each of the units. So there's lots of opportunities to practice the assessments and get some feedback on how you're getting along. And then discounts and offers, so offers in terms of subscriptions, tasting, events. All of our students get additional offers and discounts that they have access to. Okay, right, I'm going to pass over to Richard at this point, if he's still there.
Yes, absolutely. So I just want to talk you through, as Russell touched upon, is our Diploma Suite and tell you a few things about what's going on at the school at the moment. So we are currently doing a refurbishment of the school building, and where we used to share our buildings with sort of a couple of other businesses and some offices for across the organisation. We have now turned those into classroom and study space. So going forward, the school has the whole building on Bermondsey Street, if anyone has been there. So one of the things that we are most proud about is our brand new Diploma Suite. So the fourth floor is now turned into 2 classrooms and then a study area. So there's a kitchen, there's some high desks, and there is some booth seating. And this comes because we never had the room before to offer students the ability to stay on and do additional studies. So this is a really important step forward for us. So you can meet with your class, and also gives you the ability to meet with other people on other diploma courses. So really widen sort of the people you meet throughout the experience. There's a kitchen and as well, but as Russell has just said, apparently it should be more theory practice, but I'm sure there will be plenty of tasting practice going on as well, and not just theory. So yeah, it's part of a wider development. As Russell said, it is very, very new. We have literally started teaching in the last few days, and we hope that as COVID regulations change, we can invite more and more people to use the space. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is probably the part of the presentation that most students are interested in. The variety of different study methods that the school offers, and the school offers lots of different study methods. It's probably something that sets us apart from other program providers in that there are lots of different ways in which you can achieve the qualification. But I think it's important to stress that regardless of the format, the amount of time that you get with an educator, whether that be the classroom or an online format, whether that be evenings or the intensive course, you'll get the same amount of educator time. Right, so what we've tried to do here is to split it up into 2 sections: continuous delivery and semester delivery. So let's start with continuous delivery. So continuous delivery is when you pay one fee, and that one fee covers all the units. So I think currently, this is likely to go up in August. The continuous delivery courses are £4,100. So that includes D1, D2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's perhaps start with the Saturday and Monday course. They have a very similar format. So the Saturday and Monday course, you attend 33 days, 33 Saturdays or 33 Mondays, over the course of about over the course of about 12 months. And you sit down from 10 o'clock through till 2:30 once a week. And that probably takes 16 months to complete. Will vary from year to year, but approximately 16 months to complete. And that's quite popular with those people that perhaps are in the wine and spirits industry. Mondays tends to be a lighter day for a lot of the hospitality industry, or for those that perhaps can't take a day off from work and their day job, Saturdays is extremely popular. Okay, evenings. Evenings, again, very popular course for us because it allows students to complete the diploma without compromising or impacting on their daytime commitments. So evenings, 62 evenings, and we run courses often on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and that's 6:30 till 8:30 over the course of approximately 2 years. So it takes a lot longer to complete via the evening format. The advantage here is that the intensity of the course is less. You're only doing essentially one session per week. So it's a slower progression. There's time to read through the materials at a slower pace. But the downside to that is it will take longer to achieve the qualification overall. And then finally, we've got the intensive block. Again, another popular format. This tends to be quite popular with those students that want to minimize travel to London. So this is where we have intensive blocks of consecutive days of study. So you'll come in and do 4 days, the D1, and then sit the D1 exam. And then immediately after the D1 exam, you'll then study D2. There'll be a short break. You'll do the D2 exam, and then immediately after the D2 exam, you'll do D4 and D5. There'll be a break. Then you'll come back and sit the D4, D5 exam, study D3, and so on and so forth. So we can, by grouping the study days next to the preceding unit exam, we can minimize the number of trips to London. And because it is an intensive course, there is a much greater demand on the students. So you need to make sure that you're well prepared for every single block. But you can get the qualification completed more quickly. So kind of 10 to 12 months, you can get the whole thing completed, the whole diploma program through to completion. Okay, so they're all continuous delivery methods. Payment of one fee, currently £4,100. And you get all the units, the scheduled program. Okay, for semester delivery, what we've essentially done here is we split the qualification up into two. The first semester comprises D1, wine production, D2, wine business, D4, sparkling wines, and D5, fortified wines. The second semester, D3, wines of the world, and D6, the research assignment. The fee for the first and the second semester is the same. So that's currently £2,050 for the first semester, and then you'll pay for the second semester the same fee. Right, so this is popular in that students can change the format should they wish. So let's say you started studying online by the first semester, but wanted to switch to a classroom course for the second semester, you can do that via a semester delivery. And it's perhaps a little bit more approachable financially because you're just paying half the fee. And then there could be a break, and then you pay the second half of the fee. So day release for the first semester, that's 11 days, 1 day a week approximately. For the second semester day release, that's 13 days, again, once a week. The block release is where we have consecutive days of study. So for the first semester course, that's 4 days, a 4-day block, followed by a 2-day block, followed by a 5-day block. And we also offer the block release course in in Manchester, Edinburgh, and Dublin as part of our regional centres. And the second semester block release course is a block of 4 days, a block of 4 days, a block of 5 days, usually kind of a month apart from each other. Okay. The semesterized format, if you did your first semester and then followed that immediately with the second semester, would probably take about 20 months to complete, from starting D1 in the first semester to completing D6 in the second semester. Providing those semesterized courses were back-to-back would probably take about 20 months. So the online course is quite different. So the online course is, again, semesterized. It's split in a similar way. So D1, 2, 4, and 5 for the first semester, and then D3 and D6 for the second semester. But this is a program which is taught pretty much entirely online. It's not via Zoom meetings, webinars. They're not recorded sessions. They're not live sessions. It's a series of quizzes, discussions, group assignments that students are required to participate in over a certain period of time. There are weekly activities, and each week a student has to complete those activities and submit a piece of work if you want feedback on that particular piece. So one of the main advantages of the online format is that it's a little bit more flexible. So you can work ahead if you wanted to, submit work earlier, or you can catch up if you fall behind slightly. The other advantage is you are spending a lot less time traveling. You don't need to come to the classroom sessions. I suppose the flip side to that is that for all the other formats, the classroom-based courses, you will get all the samples provided for you. Whereas for the online course, you will need to provide those samples yourself. So it is a lot cheaper. So I think the price is £1,330 for each of the semesters for the online course. And that difference, approximately £700, that's generally what I say to students. That's probably what you'll need to spend on wine to make sure you taste through enough samples to have you suitably prepared for the exams. The online course does include for each semester, a tutorial day. So that's one day where we invite you to come and sit in some classroom sessions that focus on tasting examination strategy. So looking at sparkling and fortified wines for the first semester and focusing on wines of the world for the second semester. Okay. Right. So just to give you a little bit more information about the different formats, classroom versus online. So in the classroom courses, you'll have approximately 100 hours of guided learning in the classroom. We offer the block release courses primarily in London, but we also offer courses in Manchester, Edinburgh, and Dublin. If you're closer to one of those locations, that might be an option. I think the key advantage of the classroom courses is that there's always an educator stood at the front. So you've got an opportunity to ask questions and get immediate feedback on those questions. And if you've got any questions relating to samples or your use of the systematic approach to tasting, then you can ask at any point. All the samples are included. So we choose a selection of samples that we show as part of the sessions that are delivered through the classroom format. And I think perhaps is what appeals to a lot of students in terms of the classroom format is that you actually get to sit in a classroom with other people going through exactly the same experience as yourself. So you get to network, you get to socialize with your peers, you get to support each other through what is quite a difficult process. And we'll go through it in a little bit moment. With regards to our classroom courses, we've also got additional health and safety in place just to protect and ensure the safety of our students and educators. So how does that differ to the online format? Well, the online learning mainly occurs online through those activities. For each of the units, you will have a dedicated educator to which you can ask questions. The study time is much more flexible, so you can work ahead or catch up depending on your availability. You will have to source your own samples, so that's something that you do need to bear in mind. If you want an idea in terms of the number and the number of samples that you might need to source, then have a look through the specification. And the specification are the recommended samples list. So you can have a look to see whether those samples are available where you are. There is still the opportunity to network. You still have the opportunity to do group work and work with your peers and communicate with your peers, but via an online format rather than face-to-face. And there is still an element of classroom teaching, but only for one day of the course for each semester. Okay, right, I'll pass over to Richard, take you through the safety plan.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm afraid we're still in a situation where we have to talk a little bit about COVID. So we are currently fully operational. We're having students in the school and delivering all the sessions and delivery types that Russell has just gone through. And we are following all the guidelines. So we, social distancing, wearing masks. Russell, if you could move on one slide.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Regular cleaning. So yeah, we are which does mean that the class sizes are smaller at the moment. But yeah, it really means that our priority is ensuring that everyone is safe and feels comfortable in the school. And I think that we've been open pretty much every time we can be open over the last 18 months. And yeah, we've been able to open safely, and students and staff have felt very comfortable. So yes, that's all in place. Now, obviously, going forward, I can't guarantee exactly what new regulations will be in London, but we will be monitoring any changes, and anything that we need to update, we will as we go forward, and we'll be making decisions about what if things do get removed, or the guidelines aren't there anymore. We'll still be thinking about what is safe and what people are comfortable with in the classroom. Just to touch on that, when it comes to the booking at the moment, so all our classes are listed with our COVID safe student numbers. So that means that classes are quite small at the moment, so spaces are limited. But if there is a course that you particularly want to do and it's saying it's full, I think it's really important to use the waiting list, because as rules change, we might be able to fit some more people in the class if that is safe to do so. We have been working with students about completing their exams, because obviously one of the things you have to do for the diploma is come to London for exams, and over the last 18 months that has not been possible. So we have been working with providers all over Europe to ensure that exams are available. So we've delivered exams in Madrid, Bordeaux, Belgium, Holland, Copenhagen, Italy, Verona and Milan. So we've been working to go to where our students are to hold these exams. And that is a temporary COVID policy. Unfortunately, due to the guidelines of delivery, what we have to work to, we can't do that for everyone, which is a shame, because it would be a good thing to do, but we will continue to do that while travel restrictions. So if you are based outside the UK and you're not able to travel, so you're doing an online course, there is a chance that we will be running an exam somewhere that you can attend. So that's been a really important thing that we've been doing to ensure that students still have access to their exams at this time. Should things get worse again and there's another lockdown, we are unfortunately well versed in this. So if we can't physically deliver, we will be stopping our classroom sessions, and then we take each course on merit, really. So we have a wine sample supplier, so some courses can continue virtually, and we've sent out samples. Other sort of more intensive courses, it's best to wait, and we've sort of just rescheduled when we can and when we can reopen. And what we have done is just added lots and lots of online activities. So if the worst does happen again, which touch wood it won't, we don't leave you. There's online activities, virtual sessions, and lots to be getting on with. And then no one misses out. As soon as you don't miss out on any sessions, we start off where we left. So yeah, to get you back on track. It does unfortunately mean in some cases it's delays your qualification or maybe pushes an exam back, but we will make sure we get you in and keep going.
Right, okay. Thank you, Richard. Right, so just to cover off payment options. So we recognise that it is, for a lot of people, it can be quite a considerable financial commitment. So if you're choosing to pay for a continuous course, then that's £4,100. If you're choosing a semester course, then it's half that but twice. So that's one way we can spread payments out. Just to make sure you're aware, prices will be adjusted from the 1st of August. So they're likely to go up, not by an enormous amount, but they will be going up from the 1st of August. So if you would like to take advantage of a slightly more affordable price, then I would encourage you to book sooner rather than later. One thing that you might want to consider is, for those of you that have a UK bank account, generally UK residents, you can choose to pay via instalments. The fee is slightly higher should you wish to choose that option. So you pay, I suppose, kind of a deposit amount, and then you pay a monthly amount to cover the course fee plus a little bit extra. If paying via instalments isn't an option, what I would encourage is speak to your employer. So certainly if you're in the wine industry, your employer might be willing to contribute the whole fee, hopefully, or part of the fee. And it's going to be a real bonus to have someone on their team that is a diploma holder. And it will be beneficial, not just for you having completed the course, but for the business that you represent. So I would think speaking to your employer is always a good option. I mean, at very worst, they can only say no. The WSET also offers a bursary scheme as well. So that's means tested based on finances rather than ability. So you can apply for a bursary to cover all or part of the fee. So there are lots of different ways in which you can either spread the cost or cut the cost depending on your circumstances. So I would encourage you to explore those if you think that they might apply to yourself. Okay, so I think pretty finally we got the alumni body. So I think again Richard's going to pick up on this section.
Absolutely. If you want to move on one slide, it's just the final note is, once you've gone through your diploma and have passed it successfully and joined one of the, where are we at now, 11,000 people in the world who hold this qualification, you become a WSET alumni. So there's various offers and events that you still have access to. So you don't have to sort of finish your wine journey there and then. There's still a network of people who have all gone through the same experience and have the same knowledge, and yeah, who you can sort of continue communicating and learning about wine, and yeah, and keeping your knowledge up to date. So that, yeah, everyone automatically qualifies for that as they pass their diploma. So that is something that is out there for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's it for the presentation.
Yes. So we have had a number of questions, which if I go through and pull them out, Russell, if you're able.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you'd like to do that.
There's a question about the optimal time between completing level 3 and starting the diploma.
Okay, what do you mean from completing level 3 and then starting the diploma?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that there's an optimal time, but what we say to most new or potential diploma students is that as part of your preparation for the level course, you should revisit your level 3 materials. That's a really good place to start, and that way we can start the level 4 course knowing that our students have really good level 3 knowledge. We can build on those fundamentals rather than revisit in the classroom or as part of the online delivery. So I would say, I mean, ideally, the sooner the better, but it's not essential as long as you go back and revisit your level 3 materials.
Great. And then there's another question about the makeup of the class. So whether it's trade or sort of enthusiasts, and how that sort of comes together in the classroom.
Yeah, the real mix. So, I mean, historically, it used to be that we had about 80% trade and about 20% non-trade. More recently, that's pretty much flipped. So we're getting a much higher proportion of non-trade. I think it's really important at this stage to say that the qualification is achievable whether you're in the trade or not. But what I think is really nice for the delivery of the classroom sessions, the online sessions, is to have a mix of people, and that's what we always have. So those that are in the trade and various different elements of the trade, whether they're in hospitality, the on-trade, the off-trade, and those that aren't in the trade at all, it's nice to have that diverse demographic. Because what you'll appreciate with the level 4 course is that the delivery of the online or the classroom sessions is very discussive. We're trying to make them as interactive as possible. And where we've got a more diverse demographic, it makes for a much more interesting discussion.
There's a question about the pass rate for online only students.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have that to hand.
I haven't. I mean, typically the online versus classroom pass rate is similar. Where online students tend not to be as successful, I haven't got any data or any information that I can give you specifically, but where students tend not to be as successful completing via the online format is through the tasting. The focus of the classroom sessions is most definitely on tasting. So students doing the classroom format get more attention in that area. But I think it's important to bear in mind that the diploma course isn't entirely tasting. A large proportion of it, more than 50%, is actually theoretical knowledge. And whether you're doing an online format or a classroom format, our students tend to perform similarly. But where we're providing the samples and talking about the samples as part of the classroom sessions, the classroom-based students tend to do a little bit better with the tasting part of the assessment.
Great, thank you. We've got a question about international students and which delivery course is most suitable for them.
Okay, yeah, so generally our international students tend to favour the block courses. So that's either the intensive block or the semesterised block release course. and that generally entails fewer trips to the UK. So it might be 5 trips as part of the first semester, and I think it's 4 trips as part of the second semester. Whereas obviously if you pick a day release course, then you'd be making many more trips to the UK to attend the classroom sessions and each of the examinations.
Yeah, and that's another course where it's important to check the availability as things change and move as well, as we hope to be able to create more space.
Yeah, absolutely.
And run more. You know, the thing is, we're not particularly focused on between September and Christmas. We haven't particularly focused on courses for international students because of the travel, but we hope that in the second half of the year they will become available, and people will be able to travel again. So that's the hope. Right, other questions? Yeah, just about I've got questions about exams in other countries. So we base it really on where our students are. So we can't offer an exam in every country that there is a student, but hopefully when there have been groups of students, that's when we've been able to do exams in like Madrid and Bordeaux and areas like that. So it's yeah, we can't promise that everywhere is going to have that we're going to be able to offer an exam there, but what we do hope is, you know, someone's asked about Portugal, but you know, we hope that by then you can travel to Spain if that is still something that is available to us. I do need to stress again that those measures are temporary. So once travel is full, you know, once everyone can travel, then we'd have to decide whether we're still allowed to actually offer that, because it's a COVID temporary measure. So yeah, we can't guarantee that will be there forever. Okay. There we are. Lots of questions. I think Philip Davis has asked a question, and I think it sounds like a custom course. So I think, yeah, definitely the best thing to do would be get in touch with Russell. And if anyone else is in Philip's situation where you've done part of the course and are looking to do the rest of the course, that is something that Russell can build for you. So absolutely, if you get in contact with Russell, then he will be able to give you the price and the dates for that. Can you see any other questions, Russell? That Manchester semester 1 available?
Yeah, I think that the course that we're offering in Manchester is to start the end of July from memory. That might be full, but it's certainly worth going on the waiting list. We might be able to open that up to additional students, and then more than likely there'll be another Manchester course. I can't confirm this, but starting probably spring next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with all the regional deliveries, so Edinburgh, Manchester, Dublin, what we really want to be able to plan them and deliver them. You know, there's been sort of a lot of moving around, and we haven't been able to go into Manchester or Edinburgh. You know, there's bans on traveling in Scotland, so it's been challenging. So we will put these courses on when we are sure that we can deliver them, because we really don't want to be cancelling and moving things around as we've had to do over the last sort of 18 months.
Absolutely.
An example of a D6 title?
So the current D6 titles, the ones that they've used in the past, let's see, natural wines, there's been a fairly recent title, Australian wines, export market for Romanian wines, climate change. Let's give you some ideas. They tend to pick titles that are currently relevant in the wine industry, but that aren't comprehensively covered in the digital materials, to encourage you to look outside of the digital materials that are provided for you. There's a question here about how is the final grade assessed. So they look at the weighting for each unit and how well you scored on each unit, and then calculate your final grade. Again, graded pass with merit, pass with distinction. I don't honestly know how they calculate that, but I just know that it's based on the weighting of each individual unit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a couple of questions about studying in other countries. So an online course, there's something about the United States as well. So, you know, going back, there is an expectation that in a normal world, you would come to London for the exams. The other options, you look for a provider closer to home. So that's sort of the choice you have when it comes to choosing your diploma provider.
Yeah. Question on budgeted. How much should online students budget for samples? That's a really difficult question because it depends on where you are, what your access to samples is like, but also your circumstances as well. If you work in the wine industry, you're likely to have access to lots of samples. I don't know, if you live in France, then your access to samples from the New World and elsewhere in Europe might be more limited. But typically we say that kind of anywhere between £500 and £700 for samples. If you can share that with other students, then great. But currently that might not be an option. So anywhere between £500 and £700 per semester.
Yeah. Right. Is there anything else to? And Andrea's got a question about study materials. I'm really sorry, I can't quite find the original one, but do you want to talk about study materials a bit and how you get them? That might help the.
Yeah. So when you register for a diploma course, we register you with the awarding body. You're then sent a link to access the digital materials. So one point of differentiation for the level 4 courses compared to the previous WSET courses is that all the materials are digital. There's no book, so they're completely digital materials. The good news about that is that they are updated annually, and everything you need to know is in those digital materials. So the examiners will base their questions purely on what's in those digital materials. Whereas in the previous qualification, you had to rely on other resources to make sure that you knew everything about all the different regions and styles, etc. So I think that's a good thing. And there is the option to print the materials out as well if you're old school and want a hard copy of the materials.
Yeah. There's just been some questions about booking courses and availability. So at the moment, we've got from August to December up. So that's not the way we would normally do it. We normally go for the whole year, but due to the sort of restrictions and everything that's going on, we wanted to be sure that we could put on the ones that we could put on first. But we have got the January courses for the rest of the year coming up relatively soon, haven't we, Russell? And that's why it's worth a lot. Some of them will sort of follow the delivery methods of the ones that are up and might be sold out. So that's why it's worth sort of declaring an interest on the waiting list if you are, so we can then update when more courses come available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, hopefully we have been able to answer as many questions as possible, and yeah, you found it enjoyable and sort of understand what you'll be taking on if you do make the step to do your diploma. Russell will be able to answer any further questions, I'm sure. If you want to drop your email in the chat or the diploma
email in the chat.
email
in the chat, and if you've got any questions, then students or potential students are absolutely free to.
Yeah, anything that we haven't picked up on. I'm sorry if I've missed your questions. They came through thick and fast, which is good. So hopefully we picked up most of them. Russell, just make sure you do it to all attendees.
Yeah, I've got it.
No worries for all the questions. It's good. Keeping us on our toes. Right, once Russell puts the
right email address.
The anticipation is building for this email address. There you go.
There it is.
So Russell's put it on the chat there. So if anyone wants to quickly make a note, that WSET School Diploma at wsetglobal.com. If you want to ask any questions, someone's raised their hand. Then I'm not sure how that works if someone's raised a hand. I'm not sure if you can ask a question. I think if you want to quickly ask a question, if you've raised your hand, and you can. I'm not sure how it works, sorry. Or have those people gone? If you have raised a hand and got a question, please just email Russell at the Diploma website, and he'll be able to pick up the email address, and he'll be able to pick that up.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Everyone have a good evening, and yeah, we hope to see you soon. Bye everyone. Stop the recording.